Hey there, welcome to episode 153 of the Let's Innovate for Vegas audio program. I am your host, Managing Director of the Innovate for Vegas Foundation, Dan Hugo. We are recording this at 12:57 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here in Greater Vegas on Tuesday, January 20th, 2026. We normally publish on Tuesdays, so we might just make it. Today's title and topic, Commence Meta Planning. Very exciting time. Hopefully if you've never heard this audio program before, if you're not aware of the Innovate for Vegas Foundation or perhaps this Let's Innovate for Vegas audio program, I will tell you we are a Nevada nonprofit corporation. We are a 501c3 nonprofit public charity. Our purpose is to enable and encourage ideation, innovation, and implementation to make our communities better. The 3 I's. Implementation is the hardest, but that's where you actually put it out there. We are not a tech only. We are not apps. Of course, innovation can take many forms, including those. But we focus on community elevation, making our communities better. And while we do encourage innovation for Vegas, we do not require innovation in Vegas. So we do attempt to reach out beyond our oasis in the desert, and we would like to collaborate far and wide. The Let's Innovate for Vegas program itself is about our initiatives, projects, individual observations and accomplishments, and an occasional interview. Although it's been a while, but that would be fine if we can get that going again for 2026. And today we will talk about the meta planning effort for what I will talk about in the summary. And before we get the show started for real, so hopefully wherever you found this audio program, you're able to locate the episode description, which includes, if I can speak today, which includes the show notes, which themselves include a summary of one sentence that I will read to you. The usual links, I have no special links today. So the basically our 2 home pages, and then we'll get on with the show. So the summary of today's episode, getting ready for Smarter Smart City Hackathon 2026. The meta planning phase is kicking off this week to set up for the real hackathon series that will last through the year. And those links are innovateforvegas.org and innovateforvegas.foundation. You should be able to see those links, hopefully, or at least locate them in the episode description. Innovate FOR Vegas in both cases, .org, .foundation. So meta planning. What is meta planning? That may sound odd, but we are essentially planning ahead of the planning. Huh? Well, this long arc event series will commence with participants joining in over some amount of time. Not everybody will be around on day 1 when we actually kick this off, because outreach is a challenge. So we will rely somewhat on friend-to-friend engagement, organic outreach, so to speak. And in the first weeks, we need to enable participants to play a role in actually planning out the year. We want to be inviting. We don't want to. The main reason, there's a few reasons. This is a large scope project, but not everyone can spend a long weekend with their friends, staying awake for 2 days or 3. If you've ever been to a hackathon, that's what everybody thinks first. Like, oh, staying awake and eating pizza, drinking Red Bull, building apps or something. And this is not that. Not exactly. It is still a hackathon, but it will be basically many hackathons unsynchronized over the course of, basically the year, to enable more participation, to enable more people to join over time. There's no requirement that you're at an event, that you're in a meeting. It's very, very accommodating. That's the idea, to enable a larger, a more diverse participation. Day-to-day people, not tech people who live in the Greater Vegas area, to participate in where they live. So there you go. The challenge with a hackathon, well, there are a few actually, but roughly speaking, we will need to explain what a hackathon is, describe the terms, expectations, the how-to, if you will, how to do a hackathon and what you should and should not count on, who owns what I'm working on, etc. Clarify policies like intellectual property, like don't take other people's ideas, and code of conduct, of course. Don't be mean. Be a nice person. Be a good person, etc. No, it's a little bit more involved than that. And what will come of this event? Why are we doing this? What will happen with my ideas? What will happen to the best ideas, etc. Who owns what? So what kind of, don't use other people's intellectual property, but you will be creating some yourself, most likely, and so on. The big one, if anyone is familiar at all with a hackathon, this is not a one long weekend, stay awake. I wrote stay away. Stay awake. I don't know how those typos happen. It's, I must be, because I briefly, I type out an outline, and some things I read directly from my outline, comments and so on. Some things I do not. So I don't know. Stay awake with laptops and Red Bull. That's usually what people think, like I said, but rather a series of efforts loosely scheduled per team or per idea, basically as they like, with a few milestones along the way. So there is not one single weekend, although there could be. We could enable that, perhaps. That's something we could talk about in the meta planning meeting. And that could be ad hoc. It might be over the summer sometime when it would make sense to have some sort of a gathering for those who would want to, as a kind of a social engagement. There is something to be said for the sort of we're all in this together sense of a hackathon. I've been to hackathons with hundreds. I've been to hackathons with dozens, with hundreds. I've been to a hackathon with dozens of people, hundreds of people, and over 1,000 people participating. Pen apps in particular, that's 12 to 1,500 people. That was interesting. There's definitely something to be said for a group activity. Even if you're working on your own thing with yourself or with a small team, 2 to 3 people, whatever it is. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. So we will have a ticking clock, a challenge that can be interpreted based on team times idea divided by people, different ways, or something like that. Whatever the challenge is. We have a sort of an overarching challenge, making our smart city smarter. What would that mean? What does that mean to you? You live here. Well, you look around. What do you think could be better? And how would you go about doing it? And resources like facilitators and collaborators and maybe sponsors, and a few elements we need to arrange over the arc. So that's my definition. I've given it many times over the course of these various audio program episodes of what a hackathon is. Ticking clock and a challenge and resources, basically. Doesn't have to be 2 days. It could be a week. It could be a year, etc. Normal people have work and school and family and lives to lead, but they may also have ideas. The idea here is to enable the ideas without sacrificing too much of the other stuff in a single long weekend, but spread it out over time. And again, so more people can participate as they learn of it, or, halfway through, someone may say, "Oh, can I join your team?" Sure. Right. If there was only one weekend, they would miss out. It would be yet another case of, "Oh, you should have been there," but now you can be. And who knows? Maybe if this works out really well, we can do a Smarter Smart City Hackathon 2027 or 2028. So those elements that I referred to, the meta planning, will include some basic ideas about what we want to establish as the foundation of the hackathon arc. I'm using things like arc and series because, again, this will not be just a weekend. It's, it could end in November. It could end in August. It could go into January of 27. No, that's not really set in stone at all yet. It's not even written down in digital ink. So that it feels like it feels achievable and also feels worthwhile. Those are two important personal. I don't even want to use the word vibes, but that's what people should come away with as they participate. Every time they participate, it should feel like what they're doing is I can get somewhere from this, or with this idea, or I can actually accomplish or achieve something, and then it's worth my time. It's worth my effort. It's worth the trade-off between looking at TikTok videos or whatever the case may be. I can do it and I want to do it. Those are the two key things. We can do it and we want to do it. That's ideally the group effort. And by the way, I would like it to be over 1,000 people that participate. Clark County, the greater Vegas area, essentially, those are about the same. Clark County has about 2.3 million people. Maybe it's up to 2.4 now, somewhere in there. I would like to have more than 10 people show up, virtually show up, or however they organize their time. So hopefully over the course of the arc, we'll get a substantial population of interested parties. Some of the elements might be things like a clear set of helpful documents with links and other information about the city, what exists today in the way of a smart city platform, if you like, what existing future-looking plans look like, the Smart City Forward plan, for example, and the updated version, which I have tried looking for recently and I couldn't really find it. So we have one from 2018. There's another one from after that. That's not quite the same format, but I digress. Maybe some starter ideas, some seed ideas, if you like, as examples, and maybe even a real example idea that is like from start to finish. Like here's something that you could use as a template, for example. We need a website. I have a domain that I will be grabbing by the time you listen to this, perhaps. So it'll have its own thing for posterity, for ongoing, for the next, after this year, for whatever we do next with this. But so a website for visibility, and so people can hopefully share that around with people. Relying on LinkedIn is a failing strategy. We already know that. We have a Discord server. It's been on hiatus because it really wasn't being used at all, but we still have it. I posted a little announcement there. I think it was yesterday. So yeah, it's on our Discord server. And we need a discussion forum of some sort, or channels. We could use the Discord server channels. We need to have one authoritative place for announcements. So that would probably be the website, of course, and we could mirror those in other places, or shareable items. The discussion channels or conversation are also part of the overall connection among all involved. That is, anybody should be able to talk to anybody if they need to, if they're on the same team, etc. We should be keeping everybody energized with this, so they you just need a little bit of an update, some sort of a daily this or a weekly summary or whatever it could be. There needs to be a sense that the train is moving, and ideally anyone not on the train can take a look and say, ooh, I want to jump on if I can. And then, maybe it could be moving a little bit faster than it was last week. That's nice as well. So just the sense that, again, this is worth my time. Look, this is cool. This is happening. And I feel like I'm part of a moving train, like I said. So yeah. Communication, of course, that's the code of conduct, right? Once you start connecting people so they can chat with each other, you need to be careful about who is allowed to talk to whom in private chat rooms. And yes, we are talking about age differentials. That's something to be careful of. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. No private chat that we would provide, probably. That seems reasonable. Yeah. So for better or worse, and we'll figure that out. So that's what the meta planning is about. For better or worse, if we get an event of size moving through the year, there may be issues that code of conduct, nobody likes to think about these things, but we do need to think about them ahead of time and make the handling of these things clear up front. So what happens if, who do you contact? What are the expectations? If I have a code of conduct violation, who do I send an email to, or who do I call? And then what happens next, and so on? Am I allowed to participate if I'm accused of violating the code of conduct, et cetera, et cetera? So we'll have to be clear about those things. We do need to enable youth participation. So that's where that's leading. It's not only this, but that is an important element. That's a given. Now, I've said this so many times now. There is this 21 plus Vegas history, right? Yeah, it's very adult centric. The fun economy is fairly adult centric. And that fun economy, by the way, is trademarked by the UNLV Office of Economic Development. It was granted in February of 2025. So the fun economy really is geared towards adults. It's been moving towards family focus, in the last decade or so, but maybe 2 decades. But it's definitely, and you'll frequently see, oh, a celebration of innovators, but you have to be 21 and older. And I made a case for that being ridiculous, and they moved the age to 18. And then I think you could be a youth with a parent. Of course, of course, you're going to celebrate people, but you should be able to participate regardless of age. There should be no lower age, aside from practical considerations. So, youth participation will be important. Parental consent is something to manage. So, if you're under 18, your parent should be not only should be approving your participation, but should be involved. Take part in some way if you would. A lower age limit is probably a practical matter. Like I said, it's, you can't be 4, can't be 2, or maybe, I don't know. But parent or guardian involvement is paramount. They have to know what's happening. And again, we have to be careful about who is connecting with whom. People should know that no dark corners. Great ideas are not magically enabled on one's 18th birthday. That's just a fact. So some milestones, people will join in along the arc, but we do need to offer some loose markers so that people have some idea where they are in the arc. Gives a sense of progress. If you, a little bit of a deadline can be a little bit of a motivator, that ticking clock, but also a milestone, a mile marker, if you like. If you have been to a startup weekend, there's a phase where people pitch ideas and some of the crowd will join in on one of the ideas they find interesting. So you kind of build up a little team. The ideation phase may be something similar. So there will be the formation, or like here, some people will have similar ideas, but in different places. Do they want to collaborate? Do they want to form separate teams? Do you want to be on a team? Do you want to be just by yourself? All those things are fine. So this would be the kind of a marketplace of ideas that people could take part in through the rest of the arc. And can you be on more than one team? Of course. That's one of the nice things about having all this time. The ideation phase may be something similar then to the startup weekend format. And the planning phase will come before that, by the way. So planning will include things like, so how do people feel about milestones being quarterly? We can do something over the summer and something at the end of the year. We can do something every 2 months, every 1 month. Should we have in-person meetings? We want to be accommodating, so we can't have things when most people are working. Should we have multiple events at different times? So those will be the sorts of things where participant input will be important. It will matter. We don't want to create an event that's uncomfortable or super inconvenient. Obviously, we're asking people to do something, but if it's, you got to be here at 2 a.m, that's not going to work for most people. Some people will be at work. So we need to align with local media. Oh, wait, did I jump? Yeah. Oh, wait, some milestones, like I said. So I skipped over a couple things. The ideation phase may be something similar, like I said. So not everyone automatically jumps into this sort of thing with both feet. So onboarding participants will be a thing. So planning and some onboarding will kind of fit nicely between the kickoff and the ideation phase. And the fun part will be both of those could be happening at the same time, because when people join, the planning will probably be like a rolling adjustable calendar. Onboarding will be, when you want to participate, what am I getting myself into? Well, here we'll figure out how to present that information in a useful way. By the way, we should be accommodating also with things like language and accessibility. That's generally true of everything pretty much. So we need to fit into that train of thought. And then how to join projects, maybe you can initiate a new project even when people are already working on other things. So a new idea anyway. So yeah, this will be kind of a big, many moving parts, but ultimately a lot of similar moving parts, moving in similar ways, but also a grand experiment. We need to align with local media in some way so that people of Greater Vegas have any idea this is happening early on, hopefully, so they can participate. And along the way, so that the people participating are recognized, maybe celebrated a little bit. Some public relations. Greater Vegas does a not so great job of sharing things like, who is participating in a hackathon and who won a challenge, or which students won a particular robotics competition, for example. That's a big one. First Robotics and Vex Robotics are both active in Vegas with active teams and so on, but very little mention in local media. So you probably had no idea. There you did. Tell a friend. So we need people to know this is happening and that they're welcome to join in. And is there going to be kind of a, hey, it's kind of too late to join? Hopefully not. So we'll see. I mean, if you really think about it, if a hackathon really was, pardon me, sorry about that. If this hackathon really was going to take place over a long weekend, that's 40 hours of contiguous time. Some people might sleep in that time frame, but that's a 40 to 48, but say 40 hours of contiguous hackathon time. So if you spread that out over a couple of months, and you say, well, you can spend 2 hours and 4 hours, the total hackathon arc for any particular person might be about the same as a long weekend. We're just not constrained. They don't have to sit in a room for 40 hours and try to stay awake and accomplish something. They could spread it out over normal human time and still participate with their friends, their neighbors, and so on. They could spend more than 40 hours. That's not a limit. But anyone who joins at any time, depending on how much time they want to commit of the time remaining, so to speak, because there will be an end to this 2026 Smarter Smart City Hackathon for the purposes of some sort of comparison or judging, or maybe there will be prizes, who knows, and so that people can recognize, okay, that's why they were doing this. Okay, and then maybe we'll do another one. This will be a rolling item, but basically we'll probably need some sponsors or anything like venues and snacks if we want to do in-person gatherings of some sort. And of course, people like to eat when there's those kinds of things going on. T-shirts and stickers, those will be a big thing. Maybe hats, who knows? All the way to a big milestone presentation, or presentations perhaps, as in multiple milestones. Final presentation and possibly demonstrations, demo day, maybe even prizes. Maybe there will be some sort of judging, public, pick your favorite 3, ranked choice voting, who knows. Like the public relations, the celebrations are important for everyone, but actually really important for their participants. Like, cool, this was fun, and people noticed. That's important. There is another element that will sound sappy or maybe cliche, but participating is arguably more important than winning. If there is winning, that is, the journey is part of the gift. It isn't winning, but how you play, and so on. The old adage is, the first swing at a Greater Vegas-sized Smarter Smart City Hackathon is part of the cultivation of innovation culture. Shining a light on possibilities is arguably the most important thing, or if not, maybe in the top 3, maybe. In other words, there has to be a sort of an ending revelation, or at least somewhere along the way, like, okay, there is the beginnings of a culture of innovation here. People are interested in doing things outside the box, or thinking in a collaborative way about possibilities and so on, not waiting for someone else to do it. Somebody should fix that thing. That's a common not so entrepreneurial notion. So who knows, we may draw out a few more real entrepreneurial innovators here in the Greater Vegas area. The mechanisms, the turning of the crank, we need that crank and the thing it's attached to. All of this comes down to, our purpose statement, really, to remind you, that's to enable and encourage ideation, innovation, and implementation to make our communities better. When we conceived that, we were very clear that it's not coding. It's not just coding, even though at the time we were Code for Vegas, but we wanted to be clear. Anyone can participate in innovation, which takes many forms. You do not need to be a coder. In fact, it's better if not everybody is. So where am I? Okay. The people who choose to participate should be able to at least, I wrote ideation and innovate. It should be ideate. Thank you. Okay, let me fix that real quick. They should at least be able to ideate and innovate towards better communities, right? So the whole goal of this is for people to be able to feel enabled and encouraged. And hopefully they will feel both enabled and encouraged to turn that thing that's been an annoyance or bothersome or feels like they could do it better, whoever they is, maybe we can do it better or we can make suggestions. So we should be able to take an idea or that little thing, I wish they would, and put that in a format that's a little bit fleshed out. Maybe get a few more people to throw in different variations of an idea, identify that elephant if you like, if you know what that references to, and then come out with something that says like a proposal, like here's what we think is the solution to the pothole problem or the street, what would you call it? Stunt drivers or unsafe intersections or whatever it is, right? People that live amongst the issues that they have to work around on a daily basis, they should be able to say, hey, you know what? Here's what I noticed. Here's what I think we should do about this, or here's what we think we should do about this, and then have a format where those can be turned into implementation. It is unlikely that most people will grok hackathons immediately. The onboarding will matter, as will getting the less familiar equipped with some basic tools for collaboration, like a chat platform, shared whiteboard, a suggestion to consider Jitsi for video chats, but anything, there's a few possibilities, and so on. So more to be determined, depends on what people need and what we can help them find. Not to mention a scheme for in-person collaboration, small and large, and then maybe some closer in media coverage, like human interest stories on a couple of teams through the timeline, a couple of teams at a time, hopefully. So in other words, not necessarily providing, because some of these things, like for example, I like to use Excalidraw as a shared whiteboard in video in our like office hours tonight and so on. So this enables people to write on the shared whiteboard, or it doesn't have to be white, but a shared, it's not dry erase either, but a shared space to do it. The Excalidraw is nice. It looks hand drawn if you want. So you can have additional symbols and so on. You can make flowcharts. You can make whatever you want, but to be able to do that, and it's completely free. So to know that that's available in case somebody out there says, well, we need to be able to, we can't all be in the same room all the time. We want to do this, but how do we collaborate? We need some sort of and then we could say, well, here are some things to try out and they're free. So this enables you to collaborate and participate without the need for expensive, we don't need to find sponsors for those sorts of things. We don't need to set up hosting. These are just services that work and that you can take advantage of. So sort of a starting points collection of tools in a virtual, extremely economical toolbox. Basically, it has been my experience, and I've been to more than a few hackathons as an organizer and a mentor. And mentors is another thing, which that's part of the meta planning. Is that if you look at the list of meta planning topics, collaboration with city staffers and subject matter experts, that's also a part of this, where not continuously, but there may be a window of time where like, hey, let's take your idea and see if it actually makes sense. So, but I've been involved in many dozens of hackathons, and these are important. So it's been my experience that removing the usual barriers makes a hackathon more fun, more satisfying. If time and effort are spent on the challenge, that is, on the actual idea and its complications and getting over them, rather than on finding a usable video chat platform or whatever the case may be. As I like to say in the working world, especially if I'm interviewing, if I need to spend more time trying to get my job done than I do actually spend getting my job done, there's a problem. So in other words, I shouldn't have to deal with red tape. We need to find, if people use the iPhone and the Android and the desktop and the laptop, what we need to be, Jitsi works on all those and it's free. So providing some starting points, there is no you're required to, but it's more you're enabled by, and the price is right. So, by the way, Jitsi is very cool. The company 8x8 that sponsors that I actually met the CEO when 8x8 was based in Sunnyvale, California, where I was living when we were doing Radio Sunnyvale. And I had a chance to interview him for our Doing Business in Sunnyvale show. And the company itself is pretty cool. They've been sponsoring Jitsi for years. So a little shout out to them for that. That's kind of the cool thing about open source and all this. So similar idea to my workaday challenge. We don't want people spending time trying to pursue their idea. We want to have them spend their time pursuing their idea. That's enough of an ask, right? So we can try to clear some of the path to get started, and along the way, that's the idea. The most important part, and this is we'll close with these. Now I was able to take part in various roles in a lot of hackathons, like I mentioned, while I was working with the Intel Corporation in the Maker Innovator Group. We were working with Arduino, if you know, you know. So there was the reality show, America's Greatest Makers, that I was the lead mentor because we were using the product that my team developed. So we had like 24 mentors. So I was like the sort of go-between between our group and all the teams and all the mentors and so on. Mentors are intended to help people with their projects, but not participate in the project, whatever they're working on. So helpful advice, but not participation. So we'll have to see where that could fit into this year-long arc. It might be less than a year, but there was the reality show and our monthly hackathon meetups here in Vegas for our foundation for a while. So I have a certain sense of where Vegas is on the energy and motivation spectrum for hackathons. We also facilitated the NASA Space Apps Challenge. And there have been other hackathons and there have been some startup weekends here in Vegas. I think there has been one in the past few years. There was about 2 in the downtown project days. There was actually more turnout back in those days. And a little bit off topic, but one of the things that was a win for the downtown project was the community connectivity. So people would find out about things, and because there was a sort of an energy level, there was participation that was by today's benchmarks. It was impressive. People were excited, they were energized, and they participated. So bringing that back, not in a startup weekend, not in a single weekend, but in several months, hopefully will be, that'll be sort of a catalyst to get things moving. Oh, did I miss it? No, it's going on for months, and you can join at any time and you can participate in more than one thing. And if you are really interested, you can spend more time, but if you don't have that time, you don't have to. So super accommodating. We'll see. We'll find out. Maybe that'll be valuable. Again, I was at hackathons with dozens, hundreds, even more than 1,000 people. We should aim for even more participation across the Clark County population of around 2.3 million, more than 12 people at least. Yeah, I would like to see, now, 10% would be a lot. That may be outside of our capacity, but 1%, that would be okay. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. The important thing then is belief in the idea. The meta planners, the facilitators, the participants, and everybody else really need to feel that this is a worthwhile pursuit. It is, or it will be, if that belief is converted cleanly to action. For a weekend, that's not difficult. It starts, it ends. There is pizza in the middle, pizza and snacks. There's probably some sort of chicanery going on, watching movies or pranks or who knows what. Although every hackathon I've been to where, people stay awake late at night and, get into this or that, mostly fun. Nobody gets hurt, but you can't focus for 40 hours straight. You got to take a break here and there. So there might be some gaming consoles. There may be some, creating some video, whatever it is. People take a break and are distracted from the hackathon. But it has to be fun, and it has to feel like we're here. It's been 38 hours and we're here, but it's still cool. So people need to feel that this is worth their time. Now spread that out over a year. that could be something of a challenge in itself. And that's why it's important that people hear about it, that they know about it, that there's a little bit of recognition and celebration going on to say like, oh yeah, that's right. We're still doing this. Make it fun if we can, and have a achievable and valuable, we'll call it valuable goal at the end. With people and their teams, with spending months, it will be a challenge, but there does need to be that sense of accomplishment and even a little bit of excitement. So we have our work cut out for us in putting this together. And this is where I will leave this episode with the first meta planning meetup online this coming Saturday. As I'm recording this on the 20th, it's the 24th. If you listen to this after, don't look for that. It's already happened. Hopefully an in-person meetup in there somewhere. I'm guessing we're going to have about 4 meta planning meetups so that people can join in, catch up, offer their input, possibly be facilitators to help with the ongoing through the year stuff. And then we'll see what happens. An in-person, hopefully, of one of those 4, ideally kicking off the actual hackathon around March 1st or so. That would be nice. We'll talk about this again in there somewhere in this audio program. In the meantime, stay tuned for all sorts of other stuff in the pipeline, hackathon or otherwise. So that's where I'm going to leave it for today. Thanks for listening as always. Do check out our homepages. There will be more information there. We are using Luma for the moment. We're giving that a shot to see how an RSVP platform works. That is not Meetup and Eventbrite. So Luma is free. They've got a couple of cool features. I'm going to see if it integrates into our smart calendar vision, including protocol support for calendar subscriptions outside of their platform. And we'll see how that works out. But anyway, there's a Luma event, so we'll add links there's a link to it in our gatherings calendar already. So our main websites will begin to advertise the meta planning meetups, and then the sort of the timeline for the hackathon arc once we kick that off. So some exciting times. And then again, there'll be an actual website for all of this. So that will also be linked from there. That's all I got for now. Thanks for listening. As always, thanks for participating if possible, and tell a friend. Smarter Smart City Hackathon 2026 starting soon, and you can get in on it beforehand and take part in making it happen. That's all I got. Take care now.